The massive alien ships appeared without warning on a quiet Tuesday morning. They simply materialized above every major city on Earth, their dark hulls blocking out the sun like artificial clouds. Each vessel was the size of a small city, dwarfing anything humans had ever built. The world stopped. Cars pulled over on highways. Workers left their offices to stare at the sky. Children pressed their faces against classroom windows. For 6 hours, the ships hummed motionless, silent sentinels watching the world below. When they finally spoke, their message broadcasted simultaneously in every language on every communication device on Earth. We are the Federation of Allied Systems. Your world has been identified as capable of joining our collective. Prepare to receive our representatives. In Washington, D.C., the United Earth Council gathered in their underground chamber. The room buzzed with tension as military leaders, scientists, and politicians argued about how to respond. They had planned for this moment, but reality proved far more overwhelming than any simulation. They could have attacked already if they wanted to, said General Roberts, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic displays showing the alien vessels. The fact that they're talking means something. President Wilson nodded, her hands clasped tightly together. We need to show strength without appearing hostile. Our Mars colonies and asteroid mining operations give us some leverage. We're not just a single-planet species anymore. The Council chose the National Mall as the meeting point. As the alien shuttle descended, its silver surface reflecting the morning sun, thousands of cameras broadcasted the moment to billions of viewers worldwide. The alien delegation emerged, their forms surprisingly humanoid. Their leader, who introduced himself as Admiral Gray, stood nearly 8 feet tall. His skin had a metallic sheen, and his 4 eyes blinked independently as he surveyed the human delegation. Your species has shown remarkable progress. Admiral Gray's voice resonated through his translation device. In mere centuries, you've moved from primitive combustion engines to establishing extraplanetary colonies. Impressive, but still in your infancy. President Wilson maintained her diplomatic smile. We're proud of our achievements. Admiral, we look forward to peaceful dialogue between our peoples. The Admiral's upper eyes narrowed. Dialogue? No, you misunderstand. We are not here to talk. We are here to inform. Earth will provide a yearly tribute of 30% of all its resources, minerals, water, biological materials, to the Federation. This is non-negotiable. A murmur ran through the human delegation. Dr. Adams, Earth's leading physicist, stepped forward. That would cripple our economy, our development. We couldn't sustain our population with such a loss. That is not our concern, Admiral Gray stated flatly. You have 30 Earth days to begin collection and delivery. Failure to comply will result in immediate hostile action. The Federation has incorporated thousands of worlds this way. Resistance is futile and illogical. The Admiral turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and don't bother trying to hide resources in your Mars colonies or asteroid operations. We know about everything. 30 days. As the alien shuttle ascended, President Wilson turned to General Roberts. Options. The general watched the shuttle disappear into the massive ship above. Their technology appears centuries ahead of ours. Those ships could probably reduce our cities to ash in minutes. Perhaps, Dr. Adams interjected, his eyes fixed on the readings on his tablet. But something doesn't add up. The energy signatures from their ships. Tom, my junior analyst, noticed something odd. We need time to study this. President Wilson looked up at the looming ships. Humanity had survived ice ages, plagues, and its own destructive tendencies. They had reached for the stars not because it was easy, but because it was hard. They hadn't come this far to become slaves to alien overlords. Call an emergency session of the Council, she ordered. And get every scientist. We have analyzing those ships. We have 30 days to either prepare for war or find another way out. Humanity won't bow down without exploring every option. Above them, the alien ships maintained their silent vigil, their crews confident in the pattern that had worked on thousands of worlds before. But they had never encountered humans before, and humans had a habit of defying patterns. The next 30 days would change the galaxy forever. The first week after the Federation's ultimatum passed in a blur of frantic activity. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility unknown to most of humanity, the brightest minds on Earth worked around the clock analyzing every piece of data they could gather about the alien ships. Tom Baker, a quiet analyst who usually spent his days looking for patterns in satellite data, found himself at the center of attention. He stood before a wall of holographic displays, pointing at energy readings that flickered across the screen. "Look at their power fluctuations," he said, his voice growing more confident as he spoke. "Their ships produce massive energy signatures, yes, but the pattern is inefficient. It's like watching someone try to cut down a tree with a golden axe. Impressive, but not necessarily effective." Dr. Adams nodded, stroking his chin. "Keep going, Tom. What else?" "Their shield technology." Tom brought up another display. "It's constantly active, even when no threat is present. They're burning through power like a teenager with their parents' credit card. An advanced civilization should know better." In orbit, the Federation ships continued their intimidating display, positioning themselves in a grid pattern that covered every major population center. Their presence caused chaos in the first few days. Panic buying, riots, religious gatherings claiming the end times had come. But humans, as they always did, adapted quickly. Life continued, albeit under the shadow of alien vessels. General Roberts received reports from military installations worldwide. The aliens hadn't attempted to jam communications or disable Earth's defense systems. Either they didn't see Earth's weapons as a threat, or they couldn't detect them. Both possibilities were interesting. "They're overconfident," he told the Council during their daily briefing. "They've reduced their fleet by 20% since arrival. Apparently, we're not considered dangerous enough to warrant their full attention." President Wilson studied the latest satellite images. "What about our Mars colonies?" "Still operational," a young lieutenant reported. "The Federation has only posted 2 ships to monitor the entire Mars sector. Our deep space communications are working normally, though we're using quantum channels just to be safe." In labs across the planet, scientists worked on understanding the aliens' technology. Each discovery brought more questions. Their ships were massive, their weapons presumably powerful, but their basic technology seemed basic. Advanced, yes, but not impossibly so. Tom's breakthrough came on day 15. He burst into the main control room at 3 a.m., his hair disheveled, eyes wild with excitement. "Their fusion drives," he exclaimed, pulling up diagnostic readings. "They're using standard hydrogen fusion. Advanced, sure, but it's the same basic principle we mastered 5 years ago. They just built bigger reactors." Dr. Adams' eyes widened as he studied the data. "Are you absolutely certain?" "Run the numbers yourself," Tom said, sending data to every screen in the room. "Their entire fleet runs on technology that's basically a bigger, flashier version of what we have. It's like they found one path of technological development and just stuck with it." The implications were staggering. The Federation's power wasn't based on impossibly advanced technology. It was based on scale and numbers. They had more ships, bigger ships, but their fundamental technology wasn't as far beyond Earth's as they'd first feared. President Wilson called an emergency council meeting when she heard the news. As the members gathered in the underground chamber, a sense of hope began to replace the dread that had dominated the past 2 weeks. "If what Tom discovered is correct," General Roberts said, "then we might have a chance. Not with direct confrontation. They still outnumber us massively, but there are other ways to fight." The president turned to Dr. Adams. "What about our special projects? The ones we kept off all official records?" The scientist smiled for the first time in weeks. "Oh, those are coming along nicely. The Federation seems to have no idea what we've been working on in the asteroid belt. They're so focused on their fusion technology, they never considered alternatives." As the council began planning their response, High above Earth, Admiral Gray watched the humans scurrying about their daily lives. He'd seen this pattern before. Initial panic, then acceptance, finally submission. Humans would learn their place, just like all the others. He had no idea that deep beneath the surface, humanity was preparing a response that would shake the Federation to its core. In a hidden facility beneath the asteroid belt, Dr. Adams stood before a containment chamber, watching the tiny speck of antimatter floating in the magnetic field. The soft blue glow illuminated his tired face as he recorded his findings. Project Dawn, Day 457. He spoke into his recorder. We've successfully increased production efficiency by 300%. Each facility can now produce enough antimatter warheads to power a small fleet. The Federation remains unaware of our capabilities. The discovery about the aliens' reliance on fusion technology had changed everything. While the Federation had focused on building bigger and more powerful fusion reactors, humanity had quietly taken a different path. 10 years ago, a breakthrough in antimatter production had set Earth's scientists on a course that now seemed almost prophetic. Back on Earth, Tom continued analyzing the Federation's fleet movements. He noticed their patrol patterns were fixed, predictable. Their confidence had made them careless. They're not even trying to hide their weaknesses, he told General Roberts during a secure briefing. Their ships have blind spots in their sensor coverage. They rely on size and numbers, not tactical sophistication. The general nodded, studying the holographic display. Like a schoolyard bully who's never faced a real fight, they'd gotten lazy. In orbit around Mars, disguised as maintenance satellites, humanity's first line of defense was taking shape. Automated factories, hidden in plain sight, worked tirelessly. Each one produced dozens of tiny antimatter warheads daily, all stored in innocent-looking debris shields. President Wilson received daily updates on a quantum-encrypted channel. The reports were encouraging, but time was running short. They had just over 2 weeks left before the Federation's deadline. The antimatter production is ahead of schedule, Dr. Adams reported during a secure conference. But there's something else you need to see. He shared new data about the Federation ship's shield technology. Their shields are impressive, but they're designed to stop kinetic weapons and energy beams. They never considered the possibility of antimatter weapons because they abandoned that research path centuries ago. Tom, who had earned a permanent place in these high-level meetings, pulled up his latest analysis. Better yet, their shield frequencies are constant. They don't adapt or change. It's like they never expected to face an enemy with comparable technology. In the asteroid belt, new discoveries were made daily. The Federation's overconfidence had led them to ignore the seemingly primitive mining operations. They didn't realize that what looked like simple excavation machinery was actually a cover for humanity's most advanced weapons research. Dr. Adams worked with his team to finalize the delivery system. The antimatter warheads were smaller than a coffee cup, but each one packed enough punch to cripple a Federation capital ship. The challenge had been developing a way to deliver them without detection. The solution was simple, he explained to the Council. We hide them in plain sight. The Federation's sensors are calibrated to detect fusion signatures and conventional explosives. Our antimatter containment fields appear as nothing more than background radiation to their scanners. President Wilson listened to all this with growing confidence. Humanity had spent decades preparing for alien contact, but not in the way anyone had expected. Instead of building massive ships and powerful energy weapons, they had focused on efficiency and innovation. "What's the status of the orbital defense grid?" she asked. General Roberts brought up a new display, fully operational and undetected. The Federation thinks they're looking at a primitive planetary defense system. They have no idea each satellite contains enough antimatter to vaporize a small moon. As the meeting concluded, President Wilson looked at the tired but determined faces around her. In just 20 years, humanity had gone from splitting atoms to producing antimatter. They had reached Mars, built colonies, and developed technologies that the Federation, for all its size and power, had never imagined. "How long until we're ready?" she asked. Dr. Adams checked his data. 5 days. We'll have enough warheads deployed by then. The delivery systems are in place. We just need to wait for the right moment. Above them, the Federation ships continued their patrol, their crews confident in their superiority. They had no idea that humanity's response to their demands would soon become a legend throughout the galaxy. The countdown to humanity's answer had begun. The art of deception, humanity discovered, was in making your enemy see exactly what they expected to see. As the deadline approached, Earth put on a convincing show of submission. Massive cargo ships began moving between Earth and designated collection points, apparently gathering resources for the tribute. Federation sensors detected exactly what they expected: containers full of minerals, water, and biological materials. What they didn't detect were the tiny antimatter warheads hidden within the normal cargo, each one masked by sophisticated shielding technology. "The Federation's arrogance is our greatest advantage," General Roberts observed, watching the cargo ships move across the tactical display. "They're so convinced of their superiority, they're not even scanning the ships thoroughly." On Mars, the automated factories continued their silent work. The red planet's dust storms provided perfect cover for the constant movement of materials and weapons. The 2 Federation ships assigned to monitor Mars maintained their lazy orbit, their crews bored with watching what they thought was a primitive mining operation. Tom, now heading his own analysis team, coordinated the deployment of stealth satellites. "We're using their blind spots," he explained to Dr. Adams. "Every time they look away, we slip another piece into position. It's like playing chess with someone who only looks at half the board." In the asteroid belt, the final preparations were underway. What appeared to be routine mining operations were actually the final assembly points for humanity's defense network. Small, automated ships moved between the rocks, looking like nothing more than maintenance drones to the Federation sensors. Admiral Gray, watching from his flagship, was pleased with Earth's apparent compliance. His latest report to the Federation Council was brief: "Primitive species showing expected response to superior force. Resource collection proceeding as planned." President Wilson maintained the charade perfectly. In public broadcasts, she spoke of the need for cooperation and acceptance of the Federation's demands. Behind closed doors, she reviewed the final defense plans. "All antimatter warheads are in position," Dr. Adams reported during a secure meeting. "The delivery systems have been tested. We can hit every Federation ship simultaneously when the time comes." General Roberts added, "Our stealth technology is holding. They haven't detected any of our defensive preparations. Their sensors are still focused on fusion signatures and conventional weapons." The deception extended to every level. Earth's military made a show of moving their conventional forces into defensive positions around major cities, positions that any military strategist would recognize as hopeless against a superior force. The Federation observers noted this with amusement, seeing it as another sign of humanity's primitive tactical thinking. In orbit, the Federation fleet had reduced its presence even further. Only 30% of their original force remained, spread thin across Earth's skies. They had seen this pattern play out on thousands of worlds: initial resistance, followed by resignation and submission. "Their predictability is almost sad," Tom commented, watching the Federation ships maintain their fixed patrol routes. "They've never had to adapt or innovate. They've never faced an enemy that could surprise them." With just 3 days remaining until the deadline, humanity's trap was nearly complete. The antimatter defense grid encircled the planet, invisible to Federation sensors. Similar systems protected Mars and key positions in the asteroid belt. Every cargo ship and satellite launched in the past 3 weeks carried hidden weapons, all waiting for a single signal. President Wilson stood at her office window, looking up at the Federation ships that still blotted out parts of the sky. "Status report," she commanded over the secure channel. "All systems ready," Dr. Adams responded. "Antimatter warheads are deployed and armed. Delivery systems are in place. The Federation's shield frequencies have been mapped and targeted. Defense grid is at full capacity, General Roberts added. Every Federation ship in the system is marked and tracked. We can hit them all in the first wave. The President nodded, though none of them could see her. Humanity had spent centuries dreaming about first contact with alien life. They had hoped for friendship, for an exchange of knowledge and culture. Instead, they had found bullies and extortionists on a galactic scale. In 2 days, the Federation would learn that humanity's response to threats had evolved far beyond simple submission. The galaxy was about to change forever. On the final day before the Federation's deadline, Earth made its move. The response was delivered not with grand speeches or diplomatic flourishes, but with a single word transmitted to every Federation ship in the solar system. No. Admiral Gray was in his command chair when the message arrived. He blinked all 4 eyes in confusion, then anger. No species had ever dared to refuse the tribute outright. His translator must have malfunctioned. Demand clarification, he ordered his communications officer. The response came immediately, this time from President Wilson herself. Her image appeared on the bridge's main screen, her expression calm and determined. "We said no, Admiral. Earth will not pay your tribute. Not now, not ever." The Admiral's metallic skin flushed dark with rage. "You have signed your own death warrant. The Federation does not tolerate defiance. Begin targeting sequence." On Earth, in the underground command center, President Wilson watched as the Federation ships moved into attack position. Exactly as predicted, they formed a standard bombardment pattern, the same one they had used to subjugate thousands of worlds. "They're charging weapons," Tom reported, his eyes fixed on the sensor readings. "All ships are powering up their main fusion cannons." General Roberts nodded to Dr. Adams. "Time to show them what humanity can do." Across the solar system, hidden weapons activated. Thousands of tiny antimatter warheads, concealed in debris, satellites, and cargo containers, powered up their delivery systems. The Federation's sensors detected only minor power fluctuations, dismissed as background radiation. Admiral Gray raised his hand, ready to give the order that would begin Earth's destruction. "Let this be a lesson to all who would defy the Federation. Fire on my mark." "Now," President Wilson said quietly. In that instant, space itself seemed to ignite. The carefully hidden antimatter warheads activated simultaneously, each one targeting a specific weak point in the Federation ship shields. The aliens' supposedly impenetrable defenses, designed to stop kinetic and energy weapons, proved useless against this new threat. The first wave struck the Federation's flagship. Admiral Gray watched in horror as sections of his mighty vessel simply ceased to exist, converted to pure energy by the antimatter reactions. Similar scenes played out across Earth's orbit as the Federation fleet found itself under attack from weapons they had never encountered before. "Impossible," the Admiral shouted as his ship's systems began failing. "They are primitives. They cannot have this technology." On Mars, the 2 Federation patrol ships discovered too late that the mining operations they had been lazily monitoring were actually weapon platforms. They vanished in brilliant flashes of light, their crews never even having time to send distress signals. Earth's defensive grid revealed itself, not as the primitive missile launchers the Federation had detected, but as a network of advanced antimatter delivery systems. The few Federation ships that attempted to return fire found their weapons mysteriously missing their targets, as if Earth had simply disappeared from their targeting computers. "Second wave ready," General Roberts announced. "Shall we finish this?" President Wilson held up her hand. "Hold. Let's give them a chance to surrender. We're not like them." She opened a channel to the remaining Federation ships. "Your fleet is crippled, Admiral. Your weapons are useless against our defenses. You have 2 choices. Retreat and tell your Federation that Earth is not to be trifled with, or continue this fight and be destroyed. Choose carefully." The remaining Federation ships hung motionless in space, their crews stunned by the sudden reversal of fortune. They had come expecting to find another primitive species to subjugate. Instead, they had found humanity. Admiral Gray, watching his mighty fleet burn, made the first wise decision of his career. All ships, emergency withdrawal, retreat to Federation space. As the surviving Federation ships fled, leaving their damaged and destroyed companions behind, a cheer went up in Earth's command center. Humanity had not just survived its first interstellar confrontation. It had won decisively. But President Wilson didn't join the celebration. She knew this was just the beginning. The Federation would be back, and next time they would come prepared. Or so they would think. The battle lasted less than 15 minutes, but its impact would echo through the galaxy for centuries. The retreating Federation ships left trails of plasma in their wake, their once mighty engines damaged and struggling. Earth's defense systems tracked them until they disappeared into faster-than-light travel, making sure they didn't try any last desperate attacks. In the command center, Tom compiled the battle data. 47 Federation ships destroyed, 31 critically damaged, and 18 retreated. We lost no major installations and suffered 0 human casualties. Dr. Adams studied the readings from the antimatter weapons. The delivery systems worked perfectly. Their shields never detected the warheads until it was too late. Their entire defensive doctrine was based on stopping weapons they understood. On the main display screen, the wreckage of Federation ships drifted in Earth's orbit. Recovery teams were already moving to secure the debris, eager to study whatever alien technology survived the battle. First salvage team reports are coming in, General Roberts announced. We're finding intact sections of their ships. Their technology is advanced, but like we thought, it's all just scaled-up versions of basic fusion tech. No real innovation. President Wilson watched as smaller ships began collecting the scattered remains of the Federation fleet. Have we detected any survivors from their ships? Yes, Tom replied. About 300 Federation crew members in escape pods. Their life support systems are stable. They're not making any aggressive moves. Bring them in, the president ordered. Show them we're not the barbarians they thought we were. The rescue operation revealed another surprise. The Federation crews, once removed from their massive ships and advanced technology, seemed almost lost. They had relied so heavily on their supposed superiority that they had no backup plans, no contingencies for defeat. In the debris field, human salvage teams made an incredible discovery. Inside the wreckage of what appeared to be a Federation command ship, they found data cores containing tactical information about the entire Federation fleet. This is remarkable, Tom said, scanning through the recovered data. Their entire military strategy is based on overwhelming force. They've never developed tactics for fighting an equally advanced opponent because they've never had to. The Federation survivors, now in Earth's custody, provided even more insights. Many were young officers who had never seen actual combat. Their training had focused entirely on maintaining and operating their massive ships, not on tactical thinking or adaptation. One captured Federation officer, speaking through a translator, summed it up perfectly. We were taught that bigger meant better, that more power meant automatic victory. No one ever told us to think differently. Earth's victory had another unexpected effect. The quantum communication channels, which had been mostly silent since first contact, suddenly came alive with signals from other civilizations. It seemed humanity wasn't the only species that had been watching and waiting. We're receiving messages from at least 12 different alien civilizations, the communications officer reported. All of them want to establish diplomatic relations. Some are offering technology trades, others want mutual defense pacts. President Wilson smiled. It seems we're not the only ones who were tired of the Federation's bullying. In orbit, the cleanup continued. Human ships, small but agile, moved efficiently through the debris field. Their size had been another advantage. The Federation's massive ships had trouble tracking and targeting the smaller, more maneuverable Earth vessels during the battle. Dr. Adams prepared his final report on the engagement. The Federation's fundamental mistake was assuming that technological progress only moved in one direction. bigger, more powerful, more obvious. They never looked for alternatives, never considered that someone might think differently. General Roberts added his own observations. They forgot the most basic rule of warfare: never underestimate your opponent. They were so convinced of their superiority that they didn't even bother to hide their weaknesses. As Earth began establishing communications with other civilizations, a new era of galactic politics was dawning. Humanity had proved that innovation and tactical thinking could overcome brute force and arrogance. The Federation would return. Everyone knew that. But next time, they would face not just Earth, but a growing alliance of civilizations tired of their bullying. The galaxy was changing, and humanity had struck the first blow for freedom. 1 month after the battle that changed the galaxy, Earth's orbital space buzzed with activity of a different kind. Ships from a dozen alien civilizations moved peacefully through the solar system, their designs as varied as their cultures. Each had come with stories of Federation oppression, and each saw Earth as a symbol of resistance. In the newly constructed Galactic Embassy in Geneva, President Wilson met with representatives from worlds that had lived under Federation control for centuries. The contrast between these visitors and their former oppressors was striking. Where the Federation had demanded tribute, these species offered friendship. "Your victory showed us all something important," said the ambassador from the Stellar Republic, a species of beings that looked like living crystals. The Federation's power was built on fear, not strength. Once one world stood up to them, others found their courage. Dr. Adams had been busy sharing Earth's technological advances with their new allies. The antimatter technology that had proved so effective against the Federation was now being adapted for peaceful uses, powering a new generation of exploration vessels. "It's ironic," he told Tom during a break between meetings. "The Federation's demand for tribute forced us to develop in secret, to think differently." They created their own worst nightmare. Earth's approach to space travel was revolutionizing galactic society. Where the Federation had built massive ships that required enormous resources to maintain, humanity's smaller, more efficient vessels were proving far more practical for most applications. Tom, now heading the new Galactic Intelligence Division, coordinated information sharing between Earth and its allies. "The Federation's ships have withdrawn to their core systems," he reported during a council meeting. "They're rebuilding, but differently this time. They're actually trying to innovate." The captured Federation crews, given the choice to return home or stay as guests, provided unexpected insights. Many chose to remain, fascinated by humanity's different approach to technology and society. They became valuable teachers, helping Earth understand galactic politics while learning new ways of thinking themselves. "We were taught that bigger was always better," explained a former Federation engineer who now worked with Dr. Adams. "But watching how Earth combines different technologies, how you focus on efficiency over size, it's opened my eyes to new possibilities." The asteroid belt, once a secret weapons facility, transformed into a hub of interstellar commerce and cultural exchange. Ships from across the galaxy came to trade, learn, and share ideas. Humanity's reputation for innovative thinking drew scientists and engineers from hundreds of worlds. President Wilson stood at her office window, watching ships from a dozen species move peacefully through Earth's sky. 6 months ago, we were facing submission to the Federation. Now we're helping build a new galactic society. The changes weren't limited to technology. Earth's diplomatic approach, focusing on cooperation rather than domination, was spreading throughout known space. Former Federation client worlds were declaring independence, forming new alliances based on mutual respect rather than fear. "The Federation made a fundamental mistake," General Roberts observed during a strategy meeting. "They thought technological advancement meant building bigger versions of the same things. They never understood that true progress comes from thinking differently." Reports from deep space probes showed the Federation struggling to adapt. Their 1,000-year-old strategy of intimidation no longer worked. Other worlds had seen that resistance was possible, that innovation could overcome brute force. Dr. Adams' team had continued their research, developing new technologies that combined human ingenuity with alien insights. "We're not just building better weapons," he explained to the council. "We're creating tools for exploration, for understanding the universe in new ways." As the first year of Earth's emergence as a galactic power drew to a close, humanity had learned its own important lessons. They had discovered that strength didn't come from size or power, but from creativity and determination. The ability to think differently, to find new solutions to old problems, had proven more valuable than any amount of brute force. The galaxy was changing, becoming a place where different species could work together, share ideas, and grow stronger through cooperation rather than conquest. And it had all started with one simple word: no. High above Earth, ships of all sizes and designs moved peacefully through space, their crews working together to build something new. A galaxy where innovation and cooperation replaced intimidation and tribute. The Federation's demand had indeed shocked the galaxy, but not in the way they had intended.